Using a 13mm socket, go ahead and remove our ground terminal nut here. I'll go ahead and spin the terminal loose. Work that off and set it aside. Let's go ahead and loosen our positive terminal here. I'll go ahead and loosen and remove this here. Using an 8mm socket and extension, we're going to go ahead and remove this bolt here. This is our battery wedge or hold down block. Okay, to remove that, set that aside. Go ahead and grab our battery. Go ahead, lift it up, set it aside. We're going to use our flathead screwdriver and we're going to loosen up our intake tube clamp here, or hose clamp. I'm going to loosen this one. I'm going to move to the other end of the hose and we're going to do the same on this hose clamp. Once that's loose, these two units need to come off. This hose should pull out. We have an electrical connector right here. You're going to press down on the tab on the top. Pop that off. Let's go ahead and separate our air intake tube and set that aside. Now I want to go ahead and remove our serpentine belt. We're going to use our 16mm wrench. We're going to go into the tensioner down here. I'm going to take the tensioner and release that, take the belt off. Kind of loosen that there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and remove or loosen our fan clutch here. All right, so we were able to break this free. And it's a right hand thread to remove, left thread to tighten. Let's go ahead and spin our fan. We're going to unthread this off. Now on our fan shroud, there's going to be two 10mm bolts. There's one here on the driver's side and one on the passenger side. Go ahead and remove this bolt. And repeat for the other side. The bottom of your fan shroud, there's going to be a plastic retainer. What we're going to do is pull the shroud forward and then lift up. That's going to dislodge it from our retaining tabs. I'm going to lift the fan and the shroud up and out at the same time. On the passenger side lower portion of the radiator, we have our drain right here. I'm going to go ahead and turn this counterclockwise. Now we have our drain bucket underneath. Let's go ahead and unscrew this here. We have our coolant coming out. It's going to go ahead and drain out that radiator. Now once we're done draining, we're going to go ahead and screw that plug back in. I'm going to go ahead and remove our drain pan. Let's go ahead and remove our hose clamps from our radiator. We're going to go ahead and do our upper one here first. You can use a flathead screwdriver or your ratchet. Loosen that hose clamp. Good, twist that hose off. Let's go ahead and do the same for our lower hose here. Loosen up that clamp. Now we do have a catch can underneath to catch any residual fluid that might be in our lower hose here. Let's go ahead and disconnect our expansion hose here. Pop that off and set that aside. There are 2 bolts on the top side of our radiator holding our radiator. There's a 10mm bolt here, one on the passenger side. Let's go ahead, loosen, and remove those. Go ahead and grab our radiator, tilt it forward, and lift that up and out. Let's go ahead and remove our radiator cap, set that aside. Now on this particular radiator, it has ports here for the automatic transmission cooler. Now these 2 here are connected, but they're not open to the coolant in the radiator. So you can leave these open and it's not going to affect the operation of the radiator. Go ahead and lower our radiator down and into position. Let's go ahead and get our bolts installed. Once we have our bolts lined up, let's go ahead and snug those down. Let's go ahead and line up our lower radiator hose. Go ahead and snug down that hose clamp. Let's go ahead and snug that down. Let's go ahead and install our upper radiator hose. And tighten down this hose. Now if you're in need of replacing your hoses, now's a prime time to do it. If your hose clamps look weak, now's the time to do it. All right, snug that down. We're going to install our expansion hose here on the top, and then we're just going to throw our radiator cap on while we're here. All right, so we're going to install our fan shroud with our fan. Need to lower this down together and make sure that we can get our shroud into our mounting tabs here. Now once we have our shroud down into our tabs, our mounting tabs, let's go ahead and install our 2 shroud bolts. There's one here, one on the passenger side. And I'm just going to snug these down by hand. These don't have to be super tight. Once you feel that bolt start to snug up, you probably go about another 1/4 turn. Let's go ahead and grab our fan and clutch assembly, line that up. Now this is going to be a left-hand thread going on. Now because our fan clutch is a left thread and the engine rotates clockwise, it's almost a self-tightening, but we're going to use a pair of pliers and just snug that down and install our upper intake tube. Once that's in place, let's go ahead and tighten down our hose clamps here. I'm going to just snug those down. Once those are tightened down, install our vacuum hose there. Install our sensor harness here. Let's lower our battery down in a position. Slide it over. Go ahead and position our battery hold down. Good there, line that up. Get our bolt drop down inside there. Now this wedge is designed just to hold your battery down into the tray. So once you feel that start to snug down, we're pretty much good where we need to be. Feels good there. I'm going to give our battery a good tug, and that is hold it good in place. Going to install our positive battery terminal. Once we have that's tight, let's go ahead and grab our negative terminal, pop that on. Let's go ahead and tighten down this side. And once it snugs down, you're all set. I'm going to open up our radiator cap. Use our clean funnel. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill up our radiator. You want to go ahead and double check the coolant to make sure that it matches the manufacturer specifications. Once our radiator is full, I'm going to go ahead and install our radiator cap. Twist it all the way around so it locks into place. Locate your radiator coolant tank or expansion tank. You want to pop this open. I'm going to go ahead and add coolant to this here. Pop your funnel in. What we're going to do is we're going to fill to where it says cold fill. There's a line right here on the tank. I'm going to go ahead and add to this here. Once we have that to where is it the cold fill, now what we want to do is go ahead and start up your vehicle. You want to go ahead and let this run for about 10 or 15 minutes. Let the thermostat open up and start cycling the coolant through. At that point there, you can go ahead and double check this line here. You want to go ahead and open this back up and fill it to that line there. Make sure that that is good. You never want to open up the radiator cap after the vehicle has been running and hot. So always be accessing your coolant from here.